Recently, I purchased the FIA Formula 4 car and have been practicing with it and experimenting with its upgraded aero from the V car around Virginia International. And let's just say, I had a pretty eventful first race. So in this race, I was starting off in 13th after having a pretty rough qualifying, as in I went off track limits both times. So I got pretty lucky to be starting in 13th, and as you can see, I had a better start than the two cars in front of me. And as I was following the pack, I slowed down a little because I realized that usually, since it's turn one, someone's going to spin out. And it just happened, and I continued going into turn two, turn three, in which I just kept a steady pace. I was just trying not to crash. Get through lap one is usually the main goal when you're driving. And I just kept on following behind this pink and orange car, making sure I don't fall too far behind, but also making sure I don't get too close, because who knows what they can pull. As we were approaching the fast sector, I was really hoping that no one was going to mess up there in that little group that we had, mostly because a lot of people underestimate the intensity of the turn right there. And when you go up the hill, you usually slowly back off rather than like trying to brake and stop. That's usually after you turn, you brake, get down to like second gear. And number 5 went off because they were going a little faster. But that wasn't much of an issue for me because I was still a little behind, so I could like go around them. But going up this hill, especially in a group, is a little sketchy, but I knew how to handle it, so I took the inside and just kept behind the pink car. They didn't slow down in time because the turn is a little sudden sometimes if you're not really paying attention. But I was able to stay out of the way, saw him swerve into the other car. Unfortunate for both of them. So by now I was approaching the end of lap 1. I was up into 8th, and I was coming in pretty fast onto the last corner. And I was trying to gain some distance on them, so I ended up pushing a little too hard, so I hit the grass onto the left side and it spun me all the way around because I tried overcorrecting. So I just let a couple of nearby cars pass, and I saw a gap for me to come back into the race. So now I'm going to keep pushing for the rest of the race to try and make up those positions that I just lost. Lap 2 was pretty uneventful. I just continued my drive on my own because I was making up the gap for the cars behind me, so they were unable to catch up, but I was also trying to catch up to the cars in front of me from when I spun out. So I just took the rest of the time to just casually drive, keep putting in a good time, but not trying to be too ambitious because that is what caused me to spin out in the first place. So I just continue on into the lap, just keep pushing, and by lap 3 I just kept doing the same thing. The same thing being mostly for the fact that I was just going to keep pushing my car, trying to see how close I can get to its limits without going too over, because you normally don't want to do that during a race. It's more likely to get you to spin out later into the race. But I was still pushing it a little because I was trying to clear that gap. And as I kept going, I realized that it was going to be a long race for sure, so I better keep it safe by just doing what I do best and keeping myself on the track and going forward. By this time I noticed that there were some back markers and that I was starting to catch up to people because they were being held up by these setback markers. But I noticed one of them there, and I noticed the people in 6th and 7th right up ahead. So I decided to start pushing again to try and catch up to them, see if I can recover my places that I lost originally. And while doing this, I did the overtake on the back marker because he gave me the right of way, as he should. And I just kept going, trying to catch up to the pink and orange car, who I think started to notice me, so he started to push a little too, just to see if he could create a gap from me. And I just started catching up to him because I think he got a little nervous, so he just wasn't getting the full apex that he needed to perform. So coming into the next corners, I was starting to see that I could catch up, so I got a little ambitious there. And going into the third corner, I ended up losing grip because I went a little too wide and downshifted at the wrong time. But I come up behind the back marker and I'm going to keep pushing to try and yet again fight towards the front. By this time I was actually climbing the ranks already because further up ahead there were crashes and stuff and people were pitting. So I was already able to climb without having to do much of a fight, apart from getting around this back marker and catching up to the pink and orange car. It was pretty easy cruising for the rest of the race. I just kept trying to keep myself as close to them as possible without losing the distance, because once I lost the distance it would become a pretty boring race, and keeping another car near you was enough to really push yourself to keep going forward, even if you knew it was going to get a little hard. Like there where I just sent it into the grass because I was pushing and I also couldn't get the apex as the guy was in the middle. So getting past the back marker, I just kept up because by this point I knew that I already saw the back marker and I knew the next set of cars were up ahead. So if I just keep going, even if I might not be making up time, I might be able to catch them. And as I kept going up this hill, I just do my normal thing. I braked a little early, but it didn't really matter because it allows me to get a faster exit speed by downshifting a little earlier. And I just kept going and going and going, eventually getting to a point where it just kind of becomes mindless. I just know everything that's happening. I just keep pushing no matter what is going to happen. Mostly because by this point I already knew most of the track and how to take it to its most optimal. I was only lacking in the fact that I was running just the basic aero setup on the car and the basic tire setup. And right at the end I saw the car that was in fourth right in front of me. I ended up finishing in fifth, which wasn't bad at all for my first F4 race. Coming in fifth out of 21 was really good, and personally I think I could have definitely performed better at some stints, such as the spin outs. I could have definitely avoided them if I wasn't pushing as hard as I did at that point. But I just took on this relaxing lap just to cool down, and I think that was a pretty good race for my first time racing an F4 car. and first time legitimately racing at Virginia International. So, as you guys know, I enjoy racing and would like to keep doing it. And if you guys could subscribe, it would help the channel grow, which will continue to promote my stuff into the YouTube algorithm and allow me to start making more videos related to iRacing. And I just like doing it as a hobby. So if you guys wouldn't mind, can you not only like and subscribe, but just tune in for any of the new videos, leave any tips if you can, because I am trying to learn after all and would like to continue going up the class ranks.
GG, Fernando. I love that. GG.